Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm, and you are watching fourth part of What If Naruto Became Kage's Hidden Assassin. If you enjoy this video, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now, wasting no more time, let's start the story.
When he felt a pulse of Riryoku from far away, Naruto cut off an enemy samurai's arm from his shoulder. When he realized it was coming from the ring he gave to his surrogate brother, he gave a growl. He left his place and then showed up behind a samurai who was about to cut off his head. With another growl, he swung Kenshin in a wide horizontal arc that cut the attacker in half, armor and all. He disappeared by using Shunpo, and when he came back, he was standing on a spiritual platform on top of the battle. He looked for the man he was looking for until he found him. He went away again, but this time he had a reason. Mifune grunted as he blocked a samurai's clumsy swing that was aimed at him directly. He slapped the blade away with his own, and then with a lazy swing, he cut off his opponent's head. When he heard a shout from behind him, he turned around to get ready for another fight. Instead, he saw a sword sticking out of the back of an enemy samurai, whose face was filled with shock and pain. "I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mifune Dono, but I need to ask your permission to temporarily leave the battle," Naruto said before kicking the enemy he had just stabbed to free his blade and flicking it to the side to get rid of the blood. Mifune asked, "What seems to be the problem, Oni Dono?" Before slashing his sword to the side to block a blow from an enemy samurai and punching him in the face. He killed him by cutting off the head and leaving the body. "I just felt a pulse of energy from the ring I gave Asuma, and I think he would only use it if they were in trouble. It would be polite to ask your permission first before leaving the battle." "Byakurai," Naruto said before firing a spell at a target behind the old samurai. Mifune just turned around to see a head-hold enemy sneaking up on him. The old leader just shook his head and looked at Naruto, who was waiting for him to give permission. "That's fine, Oni Dono. I think we can handle it from here, but you should move quickly because we don't know when those missing nins will show up. We've been fighting for almost an hour and there's no sign of them from here." Naruto nodded and vanished in a flash, which made the old samurai laugh. He then turned around and cut a samurai who was about to cut him. He said, "Tisk, kids these days are always in a hurry." People who heard him didn't know if he was talking about the masked shinobi swordsman or the enemy he had just cut in half. Asuma grunted in frustration as he dodged the missing sand nin's shuriken. It was meant to be a simple job to blow up the camp while the missing nins were away. But things went wrong when the missing nins decided to betray their friends, and use the time to steal anything valuable from the camp and run away, leaving their allies to be killed. He was disgusted that shinobis would use such methods, but he couldn't deny that these shinobis became missing nin because they didn't have any honor, if there was such a thing in the world of shinobis. He jumped back to avoid getting burned by a fireball, then met up with the rest of his group to make a defensive line. It would be their last stand if help didn't come soon. Asuma looked at the missing nin in front of them and yelled, "Damn it! How is your wound, Kurenai?" Kurenai coughed and said, "Not good," as blood ran down her chin. She used to be careless when she was focused on her illusions. One of the ninjas was able to stop her right away, and the other hit her in the stomach with a shuriken. One of the reasons she wasn't a frontline fighter was because of this. We expected nothing less from her skills. "Are you sure that he'll show up?" "Yes, but I'm sure he'll be a little late because he's dealing with an army with the rest of Mifune's samurais." "How are the rest of them handling it?" Asum asked as he flew through a set of hand seals and shouted out his technique. Fuden. A big step forward. He let out a strong gust of wind that blew away some of the missing nins. From how things looked, they couldn't stay on the defensive for long, and they didn't have enough firepower to go on the attack. Six couldn't hope to win a battle against an army of missing nins, after all. They might have had some skills, but not that many. "He better come soon, or none of us will be able to go back to Konoha," said the Aburame as he called back what was left of his Kakaichu partners to his coat. He then pulled out a kunai and threw it at a missing nin, who couldn't avoid the quick attack and died. 1 down, 39 to go. From a logical point of view, we're in trouble. A Junin-level shinobi from Iwa, who was in charge of the missing nins, laughed at the group. Iwa Nin said, "Why don't you give up? If you do, we'll make sure your deaths are nice and painless." He then looked at the hurt Kurenai with lust in his eyes. "Well, at least some of you. I'm sure the Genjutsu mistress of Konoha would love to hang out with us and make her dreams of fun come true." Before they could answer, a rope of white energy wrapped around the Iwa nin and flew through the air, splitting in half and spraying blood on everyone. Naruto said in a cold voice, "I don't think so. I hate rapists more than anything else." He then flicked his sword to the side to get rid of the blood. He didn't want Kenshin to get covered in so much dirty blood as was necessary. "Oni-sama!" Akito and Yahiko shouted in joy. When they heard this, the missing nin stiffened up and looked at the new person with fear. Asuna nin yelled in fear, "Shit! It's the Hitokiri Battousai. I didn't know he was from Konoha." Another Suna nin said, "I don't care where he's from, let's get out of here," and then turned around and ran away. But he couldn't do it because a bolt of white lightning blew his head off his shoulders. Everyone turned to see the masked swordsman pointing his smoking index finger at the once alive missing nin. Naruto said coldly, "I don't think so, my friend," and then turned to Asuma, who was helping Kurenai with the wound on her stomach. "What's going on here?" The missing nins decided to betray their friends, the Oni. "When we got here, they were raiding the camp for anything valuable. Since we turned off Kurenai's illusions, they were able to see us and attacked right away. We fought back as best we could before I sent out that signal with the ring you gave me. It looks like they came here for the money and not to help with the rebellion," Asuma said as he tried to stop the flow of. Before he saw the wound on Kurenai's stomach, Naruto said, "I see." What was wrong with her? Asuma worriedly tried to stop the flow of blood from his partner's wound. "She was hit while she was making an illusion," he said. Naruto gave Kurenai a growl and then pointed his index and middle fingers at him and cast a spell. He only said, "Iyasa," before a beam of green light hit Kurenai and made her gasp. Everyone was surprised when the blood stopped flowing and the wounds started to heal. Akito was amazed as he took out his book and started writing on it. This made everyone in the area of the ravine sweat. "That's one of my spells, Iyasa. It can heal anything except a fatal wound," Naruto told Iyasa before stopping the flow of energy because Kurenai was already completely healed. "Let's take care of the trash now." Naruto and Kenshin ran right away in the direction of the scared missing ninjas. It didn't take him long to find them, and when he did, he started killing or hurting any missing ninja who got too close. The Konoha team got back up and fought like rabid dogs after Naruto's strength and skill gave them a new sense of determination. Missing nin were getting killed left and right by jutsus and weapons. With all of their skills put together, it didn't take long for the Konoha team to kill the missing nin. In reality, Naruto's enemies were so afraid of him that they didn't have the courage to fight back well, which made it easy for the Konoha group to beat them. In the end, it was a massacre on a grand scale. When they were done and sure that none of the missing nin were left, Naruto told Yahiko and Akito to seal the bodies in the scrolls because some of them might have had a bounty on their heads. Then, he sent the Aburame and the Hyuga into the caves to find any important information about the rebellion. Since he didn't have anything else to do, he checked on each of the shinobi on his team and used his healing spell to get rid of their wounds. Akito waved a scroll over his head and yelled, "We're done sealing the bodies, Oni-sama." Akito was in charge of the supplies, so he had a lot of scrolls to store things. Naruto nodded and then looked at the rest of his team, who were standing in front of him. Even Asuma was looking at him with awe and respect, which was strange. "Mifune Dono and his army should be done with the rebellion by now, but I want to make sure they have everything under control. Asuma, I want you to take charge of the group and head to the rendezvous point to help Mifune from behind enemy lines. Tell the Aburame and Hyuga to finish their task before catching up. I will go ahead since I can get there faster than all of you. Understand?" Asuma nodded to Oni and said, "Sure thing. I'll take care of everything here. You go ahead, and we'll catch up." He then turned to the group and started barking orders at them. Naruto nodded, then jumped up and stood on the platform he made at the top of his climb. He then disappeared with an overcharged shunpo, leaving the group below to look at him in awe. Asuma told the two tracker Junins what to do and then said, "Okay, troops, get your gear ready and move out. We have a samurai army to back us up." When everyone was ready, they ran out of the enemy camp towards the meeting place to help the samurais fight. Just outside of Tetsu no Kuni, Naruto appeared in the air above the battle. The blonde swordsman looked down at the fight and saw that the defenders were in control. Before he joined the fight, he counted about 50 more rebels. He vanished again with Shunpo and appeared behind Mifune to cut at a rebel who was coming at them, then stabbed him in the heart. Naruto said as a greeting, "I hope you don't mind the help, Mifune Dono." "Welcome back, Oni Dono," Mifune said with a grunt as he blocked the attacks of a very skilled samurai. "I hope you figured out what was wrong." "Oh, I did," Naruto said, then quickly fired 6 shows at a group of rebels who were attacking. "I'm glad to tell you that the missing nins won't be joining the fight. It looks like they decided to betray the rebels by leaving them behind to steal their valuables. I was able to save my team from being killed and returned the favor. They'll be here in a few minutes to help us." Mifune said, "Good," and then did a Batujutsu move so fast that it cut his opponent in half. Naruto said, "That was a very powerful attack," as he watched the old samurai show off his powerful style. He grunted as a very strong opponent pushed him back as he blocked a very powerful overhand slash. He made a mean face at the samurai in front of him and decided to kill him. He was almost out of energy because of how strong Shinsei Taihao was and how often he had to use Shunpo to get to his team and back. He pushed back with all his strength, which threw the samurai off his game, and then he got ready to draw Kenshin for his next attack. Naruto yelled, "Hiten Mitsurugi Ryu, Ryumaisen," and threw Kenshin back into its sheath with such speed and power that it made a small sonic boom and stunned his opponent. He growled and used his Batujutsu stance to stop the fight. Naruto yelled, "Hiten Mitsurugi Ryu, Sauryuzen," and pulled Kenshin out of its sheath. He hit his opponent in the ribs with Kenshin and then hit him again with the now empty sheath. His double attack broke the opponent's ribcage and shattered his lungs and heart, which caused him to die right away. Mifune had already beaten his opponent, so he just stood there in awe as the blonde swordsman in front of him used his sword to do 2 very powerful moves. The old samurai was not only amazed by how graceful the moves were, but also by how deadly they were. "So, Oni Dono, that's your sword style? Is it Hiten Mitsurugi Ryu?" Mifune asked, interested and excited. "It's called Mifune Dono. Hiten Mitsurugi Ryu is an old style. Sorry, I can't tell you where it came from or who taught it to me, because that's a secret when the knowledge is passed on or when I choose a successor," Naruto said as he put Kenshin back in its sheath. He looked at the back of the group and saw that his team was attacking the last rebels. This made sure that they would win the battle. "It looks as if the battle is over," Mifune said with a huff as he looked at the mess the battle had made. "It looks like that's it. All that's left to do is clean up." When the last rebel was killed, a loud cheer of victory could be heard all over the battlefield. At the same time, a similar sound could be heard coming from the village. Behind his mask, this made Naruto smile. Not too bad for a day's work. The Konoha team stayed in Tetsu no Kuni for 3 more days to make sure there weren't any stranglers who would make the old samurai leader's life a living hell. While there, the Konoha team went on a side mission to make sure that all rebel spies were caught. They also did a thorough background check on every council member to make sure that nothing like this ever happened again. They were helped by the documents they stole from the rebel camp and used to go after people in power who were involved in the battle, but not directly. Naruto didn't do anything while his team did all the work, of course. He did offer, but his team said that he had already done enough for the whole mission and wouldn't let him. He trained with Mifune for a little while to improve his Batujutsu skills, which he hadn't worked on much during his other training. Naruto was lucky that the old samurai was a master of Iaido, a style of fighting in which the blade is quickly pulled out to attack an enemy and then put back quickly after the attack. A few hours into training with the old samurai, Mifune said that Naruto was very good at Batujutsu because he knew how to use some hidden Mitsurugi Ryu Batujutsu techniques. But he needs to work on his Iai skills, and all it takes to master them is time and practice. Since the old samurai general couldn't teach Naruto anything new, they have a lot of sparring matches and make the fights more interesting by putting limits on their moves. It was a beautiful sight, and shinobi and samurai warriors from Konoha would crowd into the arena to watch the 2 masters fight. When their 3-day stay was over, Naruto had a slight lead over Sasuke because of his Shinsoku. Naruto didn't know it, but he was about to become a legend as a shinobi swordsman. People would talk about how he stood up to an old samurai whose skills were on par with Kage's in the shinobi world and beat him. After completing a successful S-rank mission in Tetsu no Kuni, Naruto led the Konoha team through the gates of Konohagakure no Sado. As the leader, Naruto was the one who had to deal with the Chunin guards to let the others in. Naruto told the two Chunins, Oni and his team are coming back to Konoha after a successful S-rank mission to Tetsu no Kuni. He then gave them a scroll with the details of their mission, which was signed by Mifune, the leader of Tetsu no Kuni. One of the Chunin guards took a look at the scroll and went pale. He then gave it back to the masked shinobi, who was looking at him with a smile hidden by his demon mask. "Oh Oni-sama and team, welcome back to Konoha. Please report to the Hokage's office right away for a debriefing," stammered the Chunin, who was looking at Naruto with a strange mix of fear, respect, and awe. Naruto turned to his team, who were smiling at him, and said, "Thank you." During their time in Tetsu no Kuni, he and his teammates became closer and learned more about each other. In fact, he was treated more like a friend and teammate than a real legend. They knew that the masked shinobi swordsman was annoyed by the samurais who kept bowing to him and calling him Sama because of what he did in battle. "Okay, team. From here, go to the Hokage tower for a debriefing, and I'll meet you there." Without saying anything, he used Shunpo to vanish. This surprised the two Chunin guards and made the Konoha delegates laugh at them. When Naruto walked into the Hokage's office, his surrogate grandfather was reading the different reports on his desk. Naruto said in a happy voice, "Good afternoon, Gigi. The S-rank mission to Tetsu no Kuni was a success." He didn't try to hide his relationship with the old Sarutobi because he knew they were alone and no one could hear them. Sarutobi took the scroll that his surrogate grandson in a mask gave him and saw that his old friend Mifune had signed it, which meant that the mission was done. "Very good, Oni-kun," Sarutobi said with a proud smile before reading the mission scroll, which had the whole mission report for the team written on it. After a while of frowning, he let out a sigh of relief. "It looks like there were some problems with the mission." Naruto nodded. "It was close, Gigi, but I gave Uzumaki a tracker ring I made so he could call for help if he needed to. It was a good thing, too, because they were outnumbered 4-1, the masked blonde told him. "I see. Your report tells me that you cast another one of your spells, and this time it did a lot of damage," Sarutobi said with an eyebrow raise. Naruto laughed sheepishly as he scratched the back of his head. "Yeah, I call it Shinsei Taihao. It's a spell that does damage to a large area since I don't have one of those. In fact, that was the first time I used it too strong. Let me tell you, old man Mifune and Kurama gave me a tongue lashing that made my ears ring." Sarutobi nodded and mock glared at the embarrassed swordsman. "If I were there, I would give you the same thing, Oni-kun. You already know how dangerous it is to try out unmastered techniques, even if this one is unique to you. In any case, congratulations on your third successful S-rank mission." "Thanks, Gigi. Is there anything else you need?" "I'm going home to rest for a bit." "The others will be here in a minute," Naruto said as he heard his teammates walking towards the office. Sarutobi said with a smile, "I'll call for you if I need you. Go rest up. You deserve it." The masked boy nodded and left the room in a swirl of leaves before the doorbell rang. In Tetsu no Kuni, Danzo was confused as he read the report from one of his root spies. How on earth did the boy get so powerful? His spy said that the boy was very good with a sword in a way that was equal to the Mifune, a powerful samurai who could fight a cage-level ninja toe-to-toe. Not only that, but the boy knows a devastating technique that shattered dozens of samurai with an energy that wasn't chakra. The spy told him it wasn't the Kyuubi because the boy didn't have the telltale red chakra, and the energy didn't have the sense of evil that came from the Bijuu's powerful energy. Oh, Danzo knew who Oni was because his root agent kept sending him reports about the boy while they kept a close eye on him. He fought hard with the old monkey to get the boy into his training program so he could make a weapon for Konoha, but the Konoha charter always had a way for him to fail. He didn't know how his old teammate did it, but the boy seemed to be a powerful weapon already. He didn't even have to lift a finger. No. The boy, Uzumaki Naruto, grew up to be a powerful shinobi who helped make Konoha a strong shinobi village. This made Danzo smile. Even though Danzo's ways aren't very moral, he would do anything he could to make Konoha the strongest, and he would be damned if he failed now. Maybe it was time to meet this Oni and find out what he had in mind for the future. Even though he could no longer join Root, he still had to find out if the boy was a threat to Konoha or not. Danzo got out of his seat and put the paper he was holding on the table. A council meeting was set up to talk about how to bring Oni into the ranks. He knew that Sarutobi had already made plans for how to answer all of the questions. If he was facing an inquisition, he would do the same things. He walked towards the door and took one of the secret tunnels from his base to a building a few blocks away to get to the Hokage Tower. Before he met the legendary swordsman, he was eager to find out if any of his questions would be answered to his satisfaction. Sarutobi had a pain in her head. He was sitting in front of the whole Konoha council, both civilians and shinobi, to answer their questions about the fact that Oni, the Hitokiri Battousai, was a Konoha shinobi. Yes, he is a swordsman, but he is still a shinobi. He already knew this would happen, but he didn't like how the council argued when he said that Oni was, in fact, a shinobi from Konoha. Nara Shikaku, Konoha's top strategist, asked, "Let me get this straight, Hokage-sama.
Oni, the mysterious Hitokiri Battousai with an A-rank bounty on his head, is a Konoha shinobi."
Shikaku was right. Sarutobi agreed with a nod of the head. "I'd like to correct you on that, though, because it's possible that he'll be moved up to S rank soon, especially after what he did in Tetsu no Kuni. In fact, I heard from a reliable source that Mifune Dono has been very vocal about how great the man is. A lot of the shinobi in the council looked at him like he was crazy." Kaharu, one of his advisors and a former teammate, asked, "But why keep him a secret, Hokage-sama? It would have been better for Konoha if everyone knew who he was and who was behind the mask." "It was necessary at the time, Kaharu. If you think about it, Konoha has always been obvious in what it does, whether it's missions or spying. No matter how skilled our shinobi are, all of our actions will still lead back to us, thanks to the spies I know are in this village." He raised his hand to stop the objection he knew was coming from the shinobi side of the council. "And please don't tell me that Konoha doesn't have any spies, because that's impossible. We are shinobi, after all. If we have spies in other villages, what's to stop them from having one in ours? No, my goal is to keep Ona's identity and affiliation a secret because I want someone in the shadows to strengthen Konoha's will. A secret operative, if you will, who only answers to me, Sarutobi." This made a lot of people in the council start to whisper. "So, Hokage-sama, what is his exact rank?" Hiyashi asked in a dull voice. With his skill, he could easily be a Junin, as his bounty in the bingo book shows. In 6 months, Oni beat out many of our skilled shinobi in terms of missions and skill. You're right, Hiyashi. His skill is definitely that of a Junin or above, but if he goes all out, he's about the level of a Sannin, he said. This made everyone look at him with a lot of surprise. After all, the Sannins were second only to the Hokage in terms of strength in the village. I know what he's capable of, and the fact that he's done well on several missions in the last 6 months is proof of that. As for his rank, no, he's not a Junin. He doesn't have a rank at all. In fact, I made a secret position for him. Don't tell me, Sarutobi, he is. Danzo said with a new level of respect for his former teammate. The one-eyed shinobi didn't know that his friend had it in him. Homura looked at Danzo questioningly. Homura asked Danzo, what do you mean? Do you know what Ona's real position is? Before he spoke, Danzo nodded and gave Sarutobi a nod of respect. Yes, I know exactly what Oni is and what he does here in the village. When the Shodem and Nidem were in power, Konoha needed someone to protect it from the shadows. This was one of the reasons I made Root in the first place, even though it's been cancelled. Well, it wasn't, but he didn't have to tell them that. He saw Sarutobi raise an eyebrow at this, which made him regret bringing it up because he knew his old teammate knew that Root was still around. He coughed to get his bearings, and when he saw the old monkey smirk at him, he cursed again. As I was saying, the Shodem and Nidem created a position that is given to a specific shinobi who showed exceptional skills in all aspects of the shinobi arts. This position is called the Kage's Hand, or Konoha's assassin. When this news came out, there were a lot of scared whispers all around the room. Sarutobi raised an eyebrow at Danzo, and the one-eyed man did the same, though the old leader could see a smile on Danzo's face. Sarutobi was sure that his teammate was giving him a thumbs up for choosing to use that position, but the Warhawk didn't do it because it would make him look like a child. Danzo is right, someone said, and the noise stopped. Even though Konoha has recovered from the Kyuubi attack 10 years ago, it still doesn't have enough people to handle the most dangerous missions. We have plenty of talented shinobi, but Konoha needed an operative who works in the shadows to handle missions that are too sensitive and can't be linked back to us. This is why I gave Oni the title of Kage's Hand. Denbi, one of Konoha's richest merchants and a member of the council, asked Hokage-sama, but what is his exact rank? Sarutobi answered with a straight face, if you want to be specific, the Kage's hand is directly under the Hokage. If you want to be technical, a Kage's hand has the same power as a Sannin. But the question still stands, Hokage-sama, who is an Oni? Danzo asked. The answer to this question would show if the old monkey was right to be so sure. When Sarutobi answered, she looked Danzo in the eye and said it in a way that made him shiver with fear. He is my assassin, Danzo. That is all you need to know about him. The Hokage answered coldly, which revealed to everyone in the room that the professor, the god of shinobis, was back in business. Naruto's mission in Tetsu no Kuni was over 2 days ago, so he was taking a break and messing around in his clearing in Training Ground 44.
After checking on and buying food for his salmon and other fish nursery, he spent the rest of the day picking vegetables and planting new ones in his slightly bigger garden.
He stopped doing this fun job when he felt someone near the edge of the clearing. He inwardly tensed as he looked at the direction where the presence originated, revealing a man with a bandaged eye and lack of a right arm starting at him. Good afternoon, Uzumaki Naruto. Or should I say, Oni, the Hitokiri Battousai of Konoha, said the man who made Naruto get ready. Naruto looked at the man with suspicion as he walked towards his clearing. He felt like he knew the man. Something about how he looked jogged his memory, but he couldn't place it exactly. Putting the thought out of his mind, he got off his perch and patted his clothes to make sure they weren't too loose.
I'd invite you to my humble home, but you're already here, so it doesn't matter.
So, let's get right down to business. What do you want and who are you? Naruto asked in a voice that seemed calm but wasn't. The man laughed and stopped just in front of a patch of vegetables. The man laughed and said, such anger for someone so young, but Naruto could feel waves of nervousness coming from the person's body. This made the blonde laugh to herself about how silly it all was. Not hatred, but curiosity, Naruto said with no trouble. Even though I've never met you in my whole life, you came here and called me by name. So, please answer the question before the situation gets worse. The man nodded, but the smirk on his face was gone and a serious frown took its place. My name is Shimura Danzo, and the only reason I'm here is to talk, he said. Naruto was surprised by the name and thought back to everything he had learned about the person from his surrogate grandfather. Shimura Danzo was on the Hokage's team when the Shodem and Nidem Hokages were in charge. He was the leader and only teacher of the Root program, which was stopped by the Sandaime after the Third Great Shinobi War. Why have you come to my humble home? Danzo didn't show that he was surprised that the man knew some things about him. If a man's face could be made of marble, Danzo would be the perfect example. Like I said, I just wanted to talk, Oni. Or do you want me to call you Naruto? Danzo asked out of interest. Call me Naruto. When I'm wearing my mask, call me Oni. Since you came here to talk, may I ask why 3 more shinobi are hiding in the shadows of the forest behind you? Naruto raised his hand and pointed his index finger towards the forest as he asked. Before Danzo could do anything, Naruto quickly fired 3 show bullets at different shadows. The bullets hit the shadows, causing the shinobi hiding there to pop out and fall to the ground unconscious. Danzo stared with worry at the finger of the Kage's hand that was smoking. Whatever that attack was, it quickly took out all of his bodyguards. He didn't know what technique it was, and it happened so quickly that he couldn't even react. He knew deep down that this boy, who wasn't even a man, could easily kill him without even trying. He had to be careful if he wanted to make it out of this place alive and reach his goal. I'm sorry if the fact that I brought my bodyguards with me looks like a sign of aggression, even though it isn't. After all, the Forest of Death is a dangerous place. Danzo pointed out, putting on a cold front to hide his nervousness. Don't mess with me, Danzo, he said.
Naruto said in a cold voice.
You were trained by the Sandaime and the first 2 Hokages. I know you have skills that would make it easy for you to get through the Forest of Death. Now, before I do something big, since you're in my house without permission, I suggest we talk and you leave. Danzo nodded. Can you tell me what you know about me and Root before we talk about that? He asked the assassin in front of him, who seemed pretty calm. From what I was told, nothing. All you need to know is that. Naruto said in a calm way. He didn't like the guy very much because he seemed like he would use people. Naruto, you need to know that I keep the leaf safe from the shadows. That's the only reason I started Root in the first place, even though the Sandaime broke it up. I'm curious about your existence and want to know why you're there and what you plan to do with the leaf, given your status. Status? Naruto asked while tilting his head to the side. You need to make that clear. Status as both the hand of the cage and the keeper of the Kyuubi. He put up his hand to stop Naruto from saying what he was about to say. When the Kyuubi was defeated and you were sleeping in his office, Sarutobi and I were the only ones who worked with the law. What I want to know is, why do you want to kill everyone in Konoha? I do work for the Hokage. That's it, Danzo. You don't need to know anything else. Naruto said coldly. I see. He said this while shaking his head. Then it looks like Hiruzen has done a good job of brainwashing you to serve his goals, which are not worthy of Konoha. Oh? Who are you to say that what he wants is good for Konoha? Naruto asked with a cold tone, his eyes narrowing as he looked at the man who had insulted his grandfather in all but blood. Know that the world is not a peaceful place, boy, especially the world of shinobi. Those with power should always rule and subjugate, not make peace treaties and agreements. You should use your power to take over the rest of the elemental nation and make Konoha the strongest country in the world. Danzo said this with a zealous look in his eyes. So, Naruto, that's why I'm here today. I want to ask you to join Root so that we can get rid of the current Hokage and put our own people in charge of the village. Naruto didn't say anything as he looked at the man. No, idiot in front of him. He finally understood the kind of person Danzo was. Danzo was the complete opposite of the Sandaime, who liked peace. He was definitely trying to start a war. A person who would destroy anyone or anything in his way if his rule wasn't followed, no matter how innocent they were. If that person was in charge, he would kill everything. This man needed to be stopped, and he was going to do it, and he was looking forward to it. No, Danzo, I don't think so. Naruto said in a cold voice. He raised his hand and unsealed Kenshin. Then, to get ready for battle, he put Kenshin on his hip. Do you think that the Sandaime messed with my mind and made me want to live his way? No, Danzo, you didn't get what I meant. I asked the Sandaime to take me in and train me to kill people for him. I was the one who trained myself and found out how to use my power to fight evil. I will never follow your so-called route and destroy what Konoha worked for. I will bring you down as Kage's hand. Danzo gave Naruto a grim look and then snapped his fingers. 50 root shinobis came out of nowhere and surrounded Naruto in the clearing. Are you sure that's right? With a wicked grin on his face, Danzo asked. If you don't want to come to me, I'll have to force you to. I'll beat you, and then I'll just teach you what I want you to know. Before this day is over, I will be able to control Oni like a puppet. The battle between Root and Hitokiri Battousai started when he snapped his fingers. Naruto could see that he was outnumbered by a lot, but it wasn't anything he couldn't work around. After all, Hidden Mitsurugi Ryu was made so that it could defeat more than one opponent. But despite his bravado, he knew this battle wouldn't be easy. Naruto jumped as high as he could and stood on a spiritual platform. He did this because he was surrounded. He looked down and saw the Root Shinobi and Danzo staring at him, unable to move because he was doing something that couldn't be done. If Naruto hadn't been in a bad situation, he would have laughed out loud at the face the man was making. Naruto didn't waste any time. He raised his hand with his fingers spread apart. He put a show bullet in each finger and kept a steady flow of Ryoku going into them so he could keep shooting. The blonde didn't bother to hurt anyone, so she started firing bullet after bullet of Ryoku at the Root Shinobi below her to thin out the group. Naruto could see that he had taken out a few of them, but there were still more that were giving him a headache. He aimed with both hands and a serious look on his face. He knew that this would destroy his house, but he was sure he could fix it up again. Even though he was about to do something to it, it would still look rough, but he would still work on it. He made sure to channel enough ki and Ryoku into his new technique by gathering as much ki and Ryoku as he could. When he felt the tingle that meant his technique had reached its full power, he let go and fired. Dai Danzo. Enipo. Shinsei Taihao. This version of the spirit cannon was much stronger than the one he used in Tetsu no Kuni, and Naruto's anger gave it even more power. Instead of a big ball, What came out of the small ball in front of him was a beam of pure energy that hit the middle of the clearing he called home. A big explosion shook the forest of death, and everyone in the village could see a big mushroom cloud that came after it. Sarutobi Hiruzen was sitting back and relaxing in the Hokage's office when he felt a lot of energy coming from the forest of death. This made his hair stand on end. He got up from his chair and went to the window right away, but he stopped when a loud explosion shook the tower and the rest of the village, followed by a tremor that shook the village to its foundations. He ran to the window quickly and saw a big mushroom cloud where he knew Naruto's cottage was. Hoping he wasn't too late, he called his Ambu guards right away, and they rushed up to him, ready to fight. "We're going into the forest to find out what's going on. Bear, go to ANBU's main office and bring 3 teams with you. Bring doctors and nurses too, just in case. Move, move, move." Bear left the office right away, and Hiruzen took off his robes to show his battle armor. He didn't waste any time and rushed out the window with his Ambu guard to find out what happened to his surrogate grandson. After the smoke cleared, Naruto went back down to the ground to see how much damage his rather overpowered technique had done. He was sad to see that his once beautiful oasis had been turned into a big hole. He knew in his heart that it was gone for good, and he cried inside about it. As he looked around at all the damage, his eyes got colder instead of wet. He saw that the technique had vaporized many of the root shinobi, but that quite a few of them were still around, even though they were missing body parts. He went up to a group of them and got down on his knees to take off their masks. When he saw what he saw, he felt disgusted and angry. He took off the mask of a root shinobi who was about the same age as him. The boy's eyes were open, and his dead face was full of shock. Naruto's eyes filled with tears when he realized that Danzo had tricked this boy into joining his root and that he had to kill them in cold blood. He killed how many of these kids? How many of them were taken away from their homes and forced to fight for a pointless cause? Instead of the calm face Uzumaki Naruto used to have, he now had the face of a demon, and his eyes were filled with anger and a desire for blood. When Hiruzen Sarutobi went into the broken-down clearing, he found this. The Hokage asked, "What happened here?" "Root happened," Naruto said in a whisper, making the Sandame stop in his tracks and look at him in shock. "Danzo came to me and asked me to join his army. When I said no, he sent 50 of his men to attack me. They did not make it." Sarutobi looked at the face of his surrogate grandson and almost grimaced. At the time the Haruhis were killed, Naruto had the same face on. When Naruto asked him a question, it broke him out of his thoughts. "Gigi, did Danzo do this? Did he try to get kids to join the root program?" asked Naruto, who didn't sound like he cared in the least. "Did I just kill children with my hands?" Sarutobi gave a sigh. "Yes, Naruto, that's one of the reasons I got rid of Root in the first place, though it's clear that Danzo ignored that order. He would find orphans and train them to be emotionless soldiers in his Root army. These kids were forced to kill their family or friends to get rid of any feelings they still had."
Sarutobi spoke with sadness in his voice as he explained. "During the war, they were a welcome addition, but when I found out how they were made, I was disgusted with the man I used to call my friend and teammate. I shut down the program with the help of the Yondaime." Naruto gave the boy in front of him a nod and closed his eyes. He got up and started walking away from the clearing and into the forest of death. "Naruto, where are you going?" Even though Sarutobi already knew what the boy planned to do, he asked. It was the same thing that happened with Haruhi, and he couldn't do anything about it. In the end, the boy was right. All Naruto said was, "Danzo must die," and then he was gone. Danzo had to run to stay alive. He didn't know that the boy was dangerous. In reality, the boy was stronger than he had been told. He couldn't believe there was so much power in a single move that killed everyone in his root group in the blink of an eye. He just barely got away by putting one of the Sharingan eyes on his arm. Their techniques were powered by the cells of the Shodan. We would have died back there if we hadn't learned how to change reality. He lost one of his 10 eyes, but it was worth it because he lived to see another day. He would get his own back. As Danzo ran away from the clearing, which had been destroyed, he couldn't help but shiver in fear. He knew what was going to happen, but he couldn't stop it. His only chance was to get to one of his bases and hide there until he was gone. If he wanted to stay alive, it was time for him to leave Konoha.
But that thought went away when he saw a man in front of him wearing a demon mask and holding his sword with one hand. Oni. It looks like you've caught up to me. Even though Danzo was nervous about what was going to happen, he said it in a calm way. It had to happen. If he wants to stay alive, there will have to be a battle.
Shimura Danzo, as the Kage's hand, I have the power to tell you that you will be put to death for treason.
Naruto said in a cold voice that told the one-eyed shinobi to die. As if you think you can beat me. You're just a youngster. He didn't get to finish his rant because he was cut in half and then disappeared. He suddenly appeared a few feet away, looking angry. You'll pay for that, you brat. I can see that this fight won't be easy. I don't know what that technique was, but I know you've already used it twice. Once to get away from my Shinsei Taihao and then again to avoid the slash I just gave you. Impressive. Naruto said coldly. Danzo grunted as he took off the different locks on his arm, causing the heavy metal covering what used to be his arm to fall with a loud thud to the forest floor. Naruto saw that Danzo's right arm looked like it was carved out of wood. It had 8 Sharingan eyes staring back at him, though 2 slits looked like closed eyes, and a face on the shoulder. You're a monster, Shimura Danzo. Not only did you change your arm, but you also put the bloodline of the Uchiha into it. You really are a warmonger who would do anything to get power, Naruto whispered, and his voice showed how angry he was. Danzo scoffed. Uzumaki Naruto, if I'm a monster, what are you? You have the right name. Hitokiri Battousai, also known as the Manslayer. You have blood on your hands, and it's also on mine. You're a monster just like I am. Danzo said this as he took out a kunai and put Fuden chakra into it. This made a wind blade appear and grow to a length like a sword. Be careful, Naruto. I'm familiar with the 2 of your techniques that the man used to get away from. It is called Izanagi and is one of the Sharingan's most powerful skills. But this comes at a very high cost. When Izanagi is used, a person must give up one of their eyes. Said Kurama from Naruto's mind. I can also feel the bloodline of Hashirama running through him. It has to be the arm where the eyes were put. Be careful, because he can not only use a Sharingan technique, but the blood of the Shoden would also let him use Mokuton. I see, so this means that those 2 slits were 2 Sharingan eyes that were used to activate the technique. From what I can see, Danzo has 8 more. It will take some time. While he spoke, Naruto looked at the 2 cuts on Danzo's arm. Make good use of your technique, Danzo. You can only use Izanagi 8 more times before I kill you for real. Danzo was surprised and then let out a loud growl. He charged at the swordsman in a demon mask with his Futen-powered kunai in front of him. Naruto saw the attack coming and blocked it with a Kenshin that was strengthened by Ryoku. Boy, how did you know my trick? Answer me. Danzo screamed and his eyes looked crazy. Naruto put his ki into his arms and pushed the man back. He then attacked back, but the Warhawk easily avoided it.
Let's just say that a friend of mine knows the different Sharingan techniques and leave it at that.
Naruto said it calmly as he kept slashing at Danzo, forcing him to move back. There's nothing you can do, brat, even if you know my technique, Danzo growled as he jumped back and did hand seals. He took a deep breath and, while spinning, let go of his technique. Fuden. Vacuum wave. Naruto jumped back and pointed his index finger at the man before the attack could fully happen and cut him up with invisible blades of wind. Naruto whispered, Byakurai, as pale lightning shot out of his finger and hit Danzo's invisible wind blades, causing a small explosion that threw them both away. Naruto knew that 2 opposing forces would react in this way, so after he got back on his feet, he made a spirit platform and launched from it. Ryusuzen. Garami. Dragon Nest Flash. Gnawing. The sudden counterattack from Naruto hit Danzo in the head, with the top of the blade coming out of the back. But the old shinobi didn't die. Instead, he just disappeared as if he hadn't been there. When the man shouted a technique from behind Naruto, he tensed up. Fuden. Vacuum Great Sphere. When a big sphere of wind hit Naruto from behind, it caught him by surprise. He was lucky that he was able to focus a lot of his Ryoku on his back, which stopped some of the damage but didn't heal him completely. He used Shunpo to get away from the jutsu and showed up a few feet away with the back of his kimono torn off, showing a big bruise. You're not as smart as you thought you were. Danzo said this with a sneer, but was surprised when an energy lasso wrapped around him and pinned his arms to the side. He turned his head and saw Naruto holding out a finger that was connected to the energy that kept him from moving. Naruto told Danzo, "Back at you, Danzo," which made the old Warhawk look at him in shock. "As I ran away from your technique, I made a cage bunshin so I could sneak up behind you." Tisk tisk tisk. "It looks like you aren't as good as you should be. What is this jutsu?" Danzo asked as he tried to get out of his chains. He tried sending chakra to his body to make it stronger, but it wasn't enough to break free of the energy rope that was holding him down. "Why do you shinobi think of everything as a jutsu?" Naruto commented. "If you're really interested, I call this method, Heinawa. It's a way to trap an opponent by tying his arms to his sides and making it impossible for him to use hand seals." When the Naruto clone holding the energy rope pulled on it, Danzo couldn't say anything because he lost his balance and fell to the ground with a loud thud. He looked down and saw the real Naruto on top of him, holding his sword over his shoulder. Ryutsusen. Zan, Dragon Hammer Flash, Disaster. From his position on top of Danzo's downed body, Naruto used Ryoryoku to move towards his opponent and stabbed him in the stomach with enough force to send Kenshin's sword straight through the body and into the packed earth below, leaving only the hilt visible. As expected, Danzo just disappeared as if he had never been there. Naruto knew this would happen, so he sent out a wave of Ryoryoku, which is kind of like a sonar, to find his sneaky opponent. He put his free hand so that his index finger pointed somewhere to his right away. Byakurai. Danzo, who appeared to Naruto's right, was about to stab him with a Futen Kanai when a pale light pierced his stomach and threw him off. He pointed his index finger at Naruto from under his right elbow as he looked at him. "How? Simple. I knew you were going to use Izanagi again, so I let out some of my energy to find you. I was able to figure out where you were when you showed up and did something. Danzo, give up. You can't beat me," Naruto said calmly as he got up and pulled his sword out of the ground. When he saw Danzo start to fade again, he couldn't help but make fun of the old man. 5 down, 5 more to go. "Damn you," Danzo muttered as he flew through hand seals as fast as a master and slammed his hand on the ground. Kachiyose no Jutsu, Baku. Danzo appeared on the head of a huge creature that looked like an elephant. Its arms and legs were like those of a tiger, and its body was orange. Like its summoner, it had bandages on its head. The summoned animal looked like it came out of a comic book, which made Naruto raise an eyebrow. "Danzo, that is an interesting summon you have there. But I guess I should do the same with mine," Naruto said in a calm voice as he put Kenshin's sword away and did his own hand seals. "Are you ready, Kurama?" "There and ready. Let's make his life hard," Kurama said with excitement as he got ready to be called back to the real world. "I want you to meet Shimura Danzo, who is a friend of mine."
Kuchio's no Jutsu, Kurama.
When Naruto called for him, Danzo was not ready. He couldn't believe that the boy had brought out one of the strongest creatures in the whole elemental nation. In front of him stood the most powerful Biju in all its glory. It had 9 tails. Kyuubi no Yoko. How on earth did you get the Kyuubi out? The Yondaime was supposed to sealed off that thing. Danzo screamed out of pure shock. Even his summon was scared of the huge creature standing in front of him. "Why should I talk back to you? You're soon going to die." "Do it, Kurama," said Naruto. "Hi, Taiko." Kurama said this in a sly way, then opened his mouth wide and moved his tails so that the tip pointed at his open mouth. From where the tails were pointing, black and red balls of energy came together to form a black sphere. Kyuubi ate it, which made the ground sag because of the extra weight. Kyuubiko Amari. 9-tailed beast bomb. From Kurama's open mouth came a beam of red and black energy that destroyed Danzo and his summon, wiping them out of existence. If Naruto had given Kurama more chakra, the technique would have destroyed everything in its way until the energy blast died down. It was also lucky that Kurama fired in a direction away from the village. This kept Konoha from being completely destroyed. Naruto said, "Niece," when he saw how much damage an Amari with 1 tail of chakra power did in front of him. Danzo's summon was gone, but he was sure that the creature had already gone back to where it came from before the blast could kill it. Danzo, on the other hand, was nowhere to be found, but Naruto was sure that the old Warhawk was nearby, even though he knew the man only had 4 more Izanagis left if he used one. I had never seen that method before. Impressive, Kurama. If you think that's cool, you should see what it can really do when I give it all of my chakra, Kurama said with a satisfied smile. So, when I called you, I only gave you a small amount of chakra. I don't want to tell Gigi why part of training ground 44 is destroyed. Thank goodness. Your attack only dug a big hole and destroyed everything in its way. Naruto smiled and sent out a pulse of Ryoku to find Danzo, but Kurama used the Biju's more advanced sensing skills to beat him to it. When Danzo appeared behind Naruto, one of Kurama's tails lashed out and hit the man from the side, knocking the old warhawk to the ground and leaving him in the middle of a small crater. Lucky shot. Naruto commented. Kurama just rolled his eyes and looked at the man on the ground, who was moaning and groaning. Kurama asked, "Do you want me to stay and play with him, or do you want to take care of it?" But he already knew the answer. I'll deal with it. I know that Gigi and some other shinobi could feel your chakra being used, and I don't want them to come outside the seal to find you. I haven't told anyone else that you're my boss summon, and I don't want to. After all, you're my best option. Naruto said with a shrug, and the Biju let out a huff of frustration because it couldn't play more. Okay, just make sure you never see him again. He is a problem for both of us, but especially for your old man. Kurama said something while waiting for his summoner to stop the move. No problem, Kurama. Before the day is over, he will be dead. I'll be certain of it. Naruto said in a cold voice as he turned off the technique and put the Biju back inside himself. With a burst of Ryoku, Naruto flew towards the ground and pulled Kenshin out of its sheath as he faced Danzo, who was already trying to get off the ground. He saw that Danzo only had 4 Sharingan eyes left, which meant that he must have used one of them to get away from Kurama's attack. Damn you, Uzumaki Naruto. Damn you to hell. How on earth did you get Kyuubi out? Danzo yelled, then took out 2 kunais and used Fuden chakra to turn them into wind swords that could cut through anything. I haven't told you before, and I won't tell you now, Danzo. Also, you're already dead, so it doesn't matter anyway. Naruto said before letting go of his Ryoku, which caused a strong spiritual pressure to cover the area. This made Danzo fall to his knees on the ground. What's going on? Danzo gasped as he tried to get up but was having a hard time. I may not have answered your question about Kyuubi, but I will answer this one, said Shimura Danzo. Naruto said in a whisper as he held Kenshin in front of him with both hands. What you're feeling right now is the full release of my Ryoku, which is a special kind of energy that only I have. Why did I give it away? Simple. I found your Izanagi to be annoying, and I want you to feel like you will die no matter what you do. Danzo glared angrily at him and asked, what are you talking about, you little brat? Ryoku isn't the only thing about me that makes me special. Even my sword is one of a kind. You'll be the first and last person to see what it really looks like. Naruto whispered the words of release and then closed his eyes. This made the blanket of Ryoku around them stronger. Himura Kenshin, move heaven and earth for me. When Naruto said the words that let his sword's power out, he was surrounded by a tower of blue energy that went all the way to the sky. Danzo tried to get up to get away, but the blonde's power held him down. He tried sending chakra to his body to make himself stronger, but it did nothing but make it easier for him to breathe. After a few seconds, the tower of blue energy started to fall apart, revealing a terrifying sight to the old warhawk. He saw a different Uzumaki Naruto in front of him. He no longer wore a kimono and hakama. Instead, he wore a black shirt and pants held together by a silver belt. He covered his inner clothes with a black trench coat that reached to his ankles and black steel-plated boots. He got rid of the demon mask and put on a black mask that covered his nose to his chin. His katana had changed into an odashi, which has a 5-foot blade and a foot-long handle. It was completely black and seemed to give off an otherworldly glow that made him shiver. What scared Danzo the most, though, was that the blonde had a third eye in the middle of her forehead. It still had the natural blue eyes of a swordsman, but the pupils were black slits, like those of cats. Thank you for waiting, Danzo, Naruto said in a toneless voice. Danzo asked in fear, what are you? He was able to stand up now that Naruto had let his Ryoku levels go down. He might have said he would kill Danzo, but he wanted it to be a fight to the death because killing a crippled opponent wouldn't be fun. This is how my sword really looks and how my power comes out. Naruto said this to the old warhawk while giving him a look that said a lot. He put up his left hand and signaled for the man to attack him. Come. With a growl, Danzo immediately put Fudan chakra into his kunais, turning them into real wind blades, and then he ran at Junin speed towards the blonde. But he disappeared before he could reach Naruto. He then showed up behind Naruto and slashed at the blonde's back. He couldn't believe how well the Nodashi was used to block the blow. Naruto didn't bother to turn around and face his rival. When Danzo tried again, he disappeared and reappeared a few feet away from Naruto. He then thrust a kunai at the swordsman's heart. Before it could reach its target, though, a strong grip caught Danzo's wrist and stopped it. "Do you have nothing else to say, Danzo?" Pathetic. Naruto's emotionless murmuring made the old warhawk growl in anger. When Naruto let go of Danzo, Danzo used the chance to jump back and give himself some space. He began doing hand seals to prepare for his next move. Fudan. Great sphere in a vacuum. A huge sphere of wind appeared and was fired at the blonde swordsman, who had now changed into a girl. The blonde swordsman kept his cool and raised his Nodashi, pointing its tip at the incoming projectile. "Seiki," Naruto said, and a round shield appeared at the tip of his blade. It easily sent the attack back to its creator, who quickly moved out of the way of his own technique. Danzo saw that the blonde's normal eyes were closed, but her third eye, which didn't belong to her, was keeping him in view. Naruto decided that he had already given the man too much room, so he lunged forward with the sword at his side. His first swing was stopped by a chakra-covered kunai, whose owner grunted at how powerful it was. Danzo broke the deadlock right away and attacked the blonde with both of his wind blades, hoping to knock her out or kill her. Except for the third attack, Naruto dodged and parried the attacks without opening his eyes. This made the old warhawk lose his cool. Danzo smirked when he saw that his rather frantic attack was useless and easy to defend against. He then vanished, only to reappear behind the blonde. He was surprised, though, when the blonde turned around slowly and cut him from shoulder to hip as soon as he came into view. He had to ask, even though blood was running down the side of his mouth. "How?" Danzo gasped as he tried to stop the wound from leaking blood. "How did you know I was going to show up there?" Naruto just looked at the man with his natural eyes. His face was emotionless, but Danzo thought he saw a hint of boredom, which made him angry. "When I let my sword change into its true form, I got a few new skills. In addition to the obvious changes to my appearance, my released form also gave me a kind of dujutsu, eye technique." Naruto used his finger to point to the third eye on his forehead. "The Jagan, also known as the third eye of the devil, lets me see 5 seconds ahead of time. When its eyes land on its target, which in this case is you, I can see and counter all of your moves and plans. The Jagan can't be fooled by even your famous Izanagi." The same thing happened to Danzo and Naruto. When the root leader showed up, Naruto was ready for him and easily stabbed him with his blade. Danzo went away again, but Naruto stayed where he was. The blonde just slashed to the side, cutting off the old warhawk's arm by hitting him. Naruto said in a bored voice, "I told you, I know what you're going to do before you do it, Danzo. 8 are done, 2 are left." Before he left, Danzo growled in anger. He showed up on a branch on top of the blonde and went on the defense right away. Nothing happened. He looked down at his opponent and gasped when lightning hit him where his heart should have been. He saw the blonde point the big sword at him. The tip of the sword was smoking and glowing with power. Another shot was fired, which hit him in the head and then went away. 9 down, 1 to go, Naruto said as he lunged forward and slashed. When the man appeared, he caught the warhawk from shoulder to hip for the second time. 10 down, and you're done with Izanagi. Growling, Danzo vanished and reappeared a few meters away from the blonde to give him some space to breathe. He then did hand seals and slammed his hand on the ground to do one of his most powerful moves. He just hoped his summon was still alive and could help him finish it. Kachiyose no Jutsu, Baku. Even though Kurama's attack had hurt Baku badly, it came to life with Danzo on top of its head. Burns were all over the summon's body, and the bandages on its head were gone, revealing burned fur and skin. In some places, you could even see the bones. Even though it was hurt, it was still ready to follow its master, even if it meant dying. Naruto gave Baku a curious look and said, "I don't know why you brought out your summon in the condition it's in." Danzo didn't bother to answer. Instead, he sent a thought to his beast. Baku opened its mouth and started sucking things in with the wind. Naruto raised an eyebrow when he saw the summon creature make a wind-powered black hole. He couldn't help but admire its determination to help its summoner, though. He sent chakra straight to his feet and then added ki and Riryoku to keep himself in place. He knew what Danzo was trying to do and couldn't help but laugh at how pointless it was. "Oh, I see what you're trying to do, old man. So, since your summoned creature wants to eat me, it's only fair that I let it," Naruto said with a look of determination in his eyes. He grabbed the newly changed Kenshin with both hands and put it in front of him so it was standing straight up. He started putting ki and Riryoku into the blade, which made red and blue energy appear around the blade and get brighter as the blonde swordsman gave it more energy. He brought the blade up above him, slashed down with it, and then let go of the technique. Soul Wave. Sour Yu Yubu. The slash sent out a wave of red and white energy that cut Baku in half, killing the summon before it could go back to its plane. Danzo saw and felt how powerful the technique was, so he jumped off before he could tell what would happen to his pet. The energy wave hit about a dozen trees before it went away. Before Baku split in half and threw his blood and guts all over the forest floor, there was silence. But before the old shinobi could attack back, Naruto flew up in front of him and cut his modified right arm clean off at the shoulder. Danzo yelled out in pain and sadness. He fell to the ground with a thud. He was weak and badly hurt, and blood was pouring from his shoulder. Even though he was in a lot of pain, he was still aware enough to see Naruto walk towards him with slow, menacing steps as he got ready to kill him. He decided it was time to use his last ace in the hole, so he painfully moved his left arm and ripped the bandage off his eye, which was covered by a bandage, to show an 11th Sharingan. But it blew up before he could learn anything from it. He saw Naruto point with his index finger, and the tip of that finger was smoking, which showed that something was shot from it. "I've told you before, Danzo, that I can predict everything you do. I know that you want to use your last Sharingan to control me. Not only was it pointless, but it also meant you would die. Do you have anything to say before you meet Yami in hell?" Naruto said in a cold voice as he raised his blade to cut the old Warhawk's head off. I don't know what to say to you. Kill me. And be done." Danzo gasped and gave the boy in front of him a dirty look. Even though he was badly beaten and all of the skills he had worked so hard to learn were useless, he didn't give up and die out of fear. "So be it," was all Naruto said before he cut off Danzo's head with a single cut. The Warhawk's head fell to the ground with a small thud, and the one eye on the head opened wide, showing that even in death, Danzo was shocked and afraid. "You want to give up your job as a shinobi and stop being one?" Sarutobi asked with regret in his voice. Naruto and Root had finished their fight in the Forest of Death. He saw the boy standing over the body of his old teammate, who had died. He shivered when he saw that Danzo's face was filled with shock and fear. Even in death, the old Warhawk was afraid of the blonde swordsman who had beaten him soundly. He couldn't believe that his old teammate would do something so horrible as to steal the eyes of dead Uchihas and put cells from the Shodai Hokage into his arm. He was scared by the idea because it reminded him of what his former student Orochimaru was working on before he left the village and became an S-rank missing nin. Naruto answered in a cold voice, "Yes," but there was a hint of sadness in the boy's voice that made the Hokage's heart hurt. "Are you sure of your decision, Naruto-kun?" Sarutobi asked his grandson this question, even though he already knew the answer. "Yes, Gigi. I don't think I could ever be happy if I killed someone else. The boy I killed so easily was staring at me with his eyes. I know that it will give me a lot of bad dreams. I first picked up the sword to defend. I killed first because I wanted to get even. I wanted to be a shinobi so that something like what happened to Haruhi's would never happen again. Even so, I turned into what I wanted to destroy. I killed a child, and I don't want to do that again." Naruto said this with sadness in his voice. "I see." Sarutobi nodded and stood up. He walked over to his clearly hurt grandson and gave him a hug from the bottom of his heart. This made the boy lose whatever control he had, which made him cry and wail like he had killed a child. This child had been brainwashed, but it was still a child. Sarutobi cursed Danzo to the bottom of hell for putting his grandson through all of that. Naruto was confused for an hour, and the old leader could see the pain in the boy's blue eyes. He couldn't help the boy in any way except to be there for him when he was in trouble. You are no longer Kage's hand as of today. You will no longer be a part of the Konoha shinobi force or go on missions. Does this mean that, in the future, Naruto-kun, you no longer want to be a shinobi? Sarutobi knew it was the boy's dream to become a shinobi and asked him. I don't know, Gigi. I'm not sure, but it's possible I will. All I want is to stop killing. I might decide to become a shinobi one day. If I do, I'll start from the bottom and work my way up. I know that killing is unavoidable, but if I become a killer in the future, I will make sure that I don't kill anyone. I'll keep my word, Naruto said with a strong tone of will. Hokage slid a key and a piece of paper with an address on it across the desk to the blonde and said, if that's the case, Naruto-kun, I welcome you back to being a normal person. Since your old apartment was already destroyed, you can't save your clearing. Here is the key to an apartment in the entertainment district. It used to be my home a long time ago, but I stopped living there when I became the leader of this village and moved into the Hokage mansion. I'm leaving you this. I will move all of your money from the Shinobi Bank to a bank owned by a close friend of mine that is run by regular people. The owner of this bank knows that you're not the Kyuubi, so you don't have to worry about your hard-earned money being stolen. I hope that you like this. Naruto took the key and the paper and then smiled at his surrogate grandfather, whose eyes were still sad. Thanks, Gigi. If you don't mind, I'd like to go home and rest now. It's been a long day, and I need to think about some things that will happen in the future. Naruto said as he stood up and headed for the door to leave the office. Sarutobi didn't miss the fact that the blonde left the room through the door instead of using one of his techniques. It looked like his grandson was giving up on being a shinobi, which made him sad, but he was sure that the boy's skills would come in handy one day. He didn't know that the Biju inside Naruto was also thinking about the same thing. Naruto, even though you promised to stop killing and become a shinobi, the odds are against you. Mark my words. You will have to pick up the sword again in the far future. I'll have to wait until then, Kurama thought this before he cut the link and went to sleep. He was looking forward to the day when the boy would go back to his old life. The Hitokiri Battousai of Konoha, Oni, would go missing for years before he would show up again.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.